Welcome, good evening. Welcome to my second clip from Coach Gomez. I'm a lot brighter and lighter today. I got a bunch of positive responses to clip number one that was yesterday, where I posted about 16 minutes worth of talk. Just me and talking. I love to talk to you people as to how I became a writer, like the first, the first chapters were unveiled as to how I came to be a writer. So, a couple of the responses really did touch my heart and actually inspired me and motivated me to make more of these kind of videotapes because there's a bunch of boys and girls out there that do not celebrate Father's Day because they don't have that bond with their fathers, that do not celebrate Mother's Day because they do not share that bond with their mothers. And even though our parents, at least all of both my parents, are still alive, and of course I'm grateful for that. I wouldn't want it any other way. Um, we just don't I just don't celebrate. I don't feel the need to celebrate. I might show up like this year. I showed up to my mom's house and try to in a way show my respect for the fact that I'm still here. But most of that has got to do with me. She put me on this earth, the vessel, but I did all of the sailing myself. So there's not a lot I can actually say thank you for to her on that day. Um, Actually, on that day, I can only say thank you for the fact that I willed so much to be alive that I came to be. Because there was some people who had some choices, and the fact that the complicated birth or the complicated birthing of me um, was quite a chaotic day that night at the hospital. Um, it was so complicated that the doctor eventually actually had to go and ask my then dad parent. Um, I don't know if this complete story is true because I heard it from the horse's mouth, being my mother. She had told me long ago, and she kept on telling me the same story to make sure I would never forget, of course, that by the time they had like finally pulled me out with like those things they pull you your head out of your mom and stuff, and things were complicated. I should have been born like 3 weeks prior to that. I stayed in the womb, needed more strength to grow. I knew what was coming. I needed that power, the extra power. And they had went to my dad and said, "Yo, listen, I'm gonna try not to curse. I cursed a lot. The other video, I don't want to do that anymore." So he stepped up to my dad and told him it's quite possible that we might be able to just save one life today. And he would have to choose between the life of my mother or me. And he chose the life of my mother because he was thinking, of course, being a sailor, he didn't have a steady house. My mom, if my mother would have passed away, she would have left a 2-year-old behind with a sailor dad with no place to go. So at the end of the day, but it took a couple of years before takes growing up and thinking about situations in those times, like what was it like then? Don't just look at the decisions they made and move on from that, but actually just look back. And that's what I've always done. I look back to see, okay, what was my mother's age? What was my father's age? in what type of situations were they living um, in a strange country. They both didn't yet speak the Dutch language. They had no stability whatsoever. So that like makes the choice. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because I was born. Anyhow, um, because the fact that I would live was obviously not in their hands. My creator had other plans for me, so I stayed. I stayed around. Like I said, I just hang in there. And this hanging in there has became like this trick of mine. I'm just rolling my cigarette. In the meanwhile, just don't bother. Um, this trick of mine of survival, and always being observant and looking at my surroundings. Like I said yesterday, um, it became very important to me. And the fact is, I experience things differently now. I experience things more as a child now, as being a grown up. And when I was a child, I remember experiencing things as an adult because I would look and actually think and ask questions and wonder why and try and place and fit things together. And even by the time that the term abuse came up in my life, child abuse came up in my life, I always portrayed that as something that the other people did. That, and I was just like, how do you say, just a character in the movie with like a non-silent character in the movie that will be used to play out a certain scene. That's how I viewed my place in that. So I never let it. I always used to say they tried to make my dark heart growing up because I was a lovable child. I was cute as, yeah, I was so cute. I was so cute. Um, and I was quiet. I was a little cancer. Like I just needed a little attention. Sometimes I'd pet my hair. Are you good? My little afro. And I would just sit like that was me basically. And I was always very loving and kind and protected then by my one of my other sisters, the one sister I grew up with during those days. She was very protective of me. And I think that had a lot to do also with the abuse that she already had experienced the same as I did. She already had that, like as a 4 or 5 year old, had that very strong sense of I have to protect my baby sister because those people are gonna harm her the way they're harming me now. And she wouldn't even let my dad come close. Like it was either her or my mom, and then later Omo Willem was accepted. But even my dad couldn't touch me. Nobody was allowed in my vicinity, couldn't come near my crib. So that was kind of awesome. Um, but I was just really like youth became school to me. It became a school on how to recognize certain people, how to recognize certain types of people, how to recognize right from wrong. I knew instinctively the things that were wrong. And even though at that moment you don't have the words to express or to think of those words and know uh, exactly what it is, but you know the essence of it just felt wrong. And That became the basis of me studying humanity in a way that I've always been intrigued on as to how people think, how they form their thoughts and how they form their opinions. And this turned out and turned into that I've always used my pain and my sorrows and my misfortunes as a creative, like I would take that and then I would turn it into something. I would either turn it into a poem, my anger, my sadness, I would turn it into a poem. By the time later, when I reached the age of 17, 18, and I got 17, and I heard that my youngest sister had gotten pregnant at 12 years old. And, um, later, I dealt with that by just organizing a youth event for girls doing it all, where girls would be informed about teenage pregnancies. They would be informed about how to protect themselves on the streets. I had female performers, I had female DJs, everybody in there, just everybody that had some sort of mission that day had to be female. And I think I did that to distract myself from the drama taking place at home. And at the same time, I used a lot of that information to hand down to my little sister because she needed that, and I actually took her to some of those institutions and organizations where she would and could be informed about which steps to take next. Because obviously, her staying in the house with my mom and my new stepdad at the time, my mother being pregnant, and I was just going crazy in the meantime because there I was, like the oldest daughter left in the house, uh, had witnessed my mom getting remarried, getting pregnant, my youngest sister getting pregnant at the age of 12. Hardly, she she never ever graduated anything ever, I think. Um, and I was just stuck, like looking at both of them, like, is this Twilight Zone? Like, I wasn't even thinking about boys at the time. And my mom pregnant at 42, my baby sister pregnant at 12. I was confused. Um, and the whole situation kind of scared me. But let's go back to the beginning because I just skipped like 15 years into the future. Come back in a couple of weeks to catch that. Um, so that was like I noticed that the self protection and preservation uh, was the most important thing. I wasn't gonna let myself be destroyed. I was not going to let myself get down, turn dark, turn into some kind of depression where I wouldn't be able to deal with the world anymore and I wouldn't want to be living anymore. And I had none of that. At the end of the day, I was always just, like I said, plotting and scheming in my room, um, just counting the days until the day came that I would be able to claim myself an independent one, although it did happen a little bit forcibly. But I reached my independence, and since then, everything I did for me. But it was all just based on survival and the know-how that it doesn't matter if at in your prime beginning. It does matter to a lot of people. It does matter, but at the end, when you go through it and you have this will of mind and heart to just push through at the beginning, and then you have that self love, That's really important, the most important thing to have. If nobody there finds you important enough to tell you that you are important, that you are beautiful, that you are smart, you will find out eventually that you are all those things and more. The fact that they didn't tell you doesn't mean that you weren't. That just meant that they had a lack of communication, a lack of understanding on as to how to treat a child growing up, how to support them on their path in growing up. And um, so the first step basically is just to observe, to learn, understand, and accept your situation at that moment, because the situation will always change. And the more I looked forward to that moment where I could release, and the more I was visualizing what my life would be like in the future, it took a while. It took some setbacks. It took some restarting and rebooting and redesigning the whole system again, to shutting back down and being completely destroyed. And then just pick up and start over again and just do that and do that. And you do that until you reach your final destination. And your final destination is the first step to your future, because we're not there yet. This part, this is all just training, has all been just training up to now. By the time you realize that you have survived all of those fights with life and you're still standing there strong, maybe it was God's divine intervention to make sure you weren't pushed as hard. Because just imagine, I would have been ruling the world by now. But, yo, I don't need to rule the world. I just want to spread some love. Today's video is going to be 20 minutes. Um, I want it to be 20 minutes. We're on 17:24 now, so I just want to share a piece of my life, my history, my pain and my happiness. Attach it to some life advice, some coaching, some pulling you through the day. Like, you can make it. At the end of the day, we can all make it, as long as you have that heart, your soul, and be able to just be human, enjoy life. I have so many questions about myself, but all those questions do not prevent me from enjoying who I am right now. I've always wanted to be me. I've never looked at anyone else and said, "Wow, I would like to be that person," or "I would like to be light skinned and skinted, or even darkened." I'm just fine. I lost my smile over the years because, drama, shit happens. But it didn't make me any less beautiful. It didn't make me any less loving. Um, I'm just trying to spread some love. So don't feel weary if you didn't have that soft bed, that warm cot in the beginning, those warm arms to support you. And even though they're still missing now in action, you are still in action. Make sure that you are still in action, that you are still moving, that you are going to reach your stars, all of them. See, I already left them. They know it's gonna happen. So I left the window open to invite all the mosquitoes in so I can kill them later. I hope I cursed less today. I'm gonna really, really try, and you all can call me out on it. I'll write a poem for every cuss word I used and say sorry, just to say sorry. Um, yeah, I had a lot of love in sharing my story yesterday, and I'm gonna continue to be able to repay that love back in kind. And stay with me on my journey. I have a lot yet to tell. So many things, good things coming up. So many projects I'm working on, and it's gonna be fabulous. It is fabulous already in my head. I can see it now. Come visualize with me. Look at that future. Look. Mm, see how bright that is. See how bright that shines. Mm-mm-mm. I can smell it. I can smell it. I'm gonna leave y'all again. Love you guys.